Usually when we talk about like building a business empire, there's this deeply ingrained expectation of a grand, noisy opening.
Oh, absolutely. The big spectacle.
Right. We expect the giant ribbon cutting ceremony, the champagne popping, the massive bank loans being leveraged.
The flashy billboards taking up the entire skyline.
Yeah, exactly. We're sort of trained to expect that wealth has to be, announced to the world before it even really exists.
Right. It's that whole narrative of a loud, explosive start. I mean, the entire modern business culture is designed to be highly visible.
It's almost theatrical.
Yes, theatrical is the perfect word for it.
But then, you step out into the real world. Say you're walking down a busy street here in the Philippines, and suddenly that grand theatrical opening is completely nowhere to be found.
You see something entirely different.
Totally different. You see this tiny, almost invisible, incredibly modest Chinese family store.
Just tucked away on a corner.
Right. And maybe they sell a few basic hardware supplies, nails, a few cans of paint, or maybe it's just everyday groceries. Dusty bags of rice.
It's completely unassuming.
Exactly. And the owner's probably sitting there in a faded t-shirt and like rubber slippers. And you blink. A few years pass.
And the landscape has completely shifted underneath your feet without you even realizing it.
It's crazy. Suddenly that tiny, dusty shop isn't a shop anymore. It's a massive, multi-level commercial grocery store.
Or a sprawling, fully stocked hardware empire.
With a literal fleet of delivery trucks that takes up the entire city block.
Right. And it happens so quietly.
So systematically. You
Yeah.
barely even notice the transition until it's already this absolute behemoth.
It's like watching a slow-motion, time-lapse video of wealth building just happening right out in the open.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I mean, it is the absolute textbook definition of compounding growth. But what makes it so striking is that it's happening entirely in the background.
No fanfare at all.
Right. No fanfare, no press releases. It's quiet capital.
But hold on, because here is the heartbreaking contrast that we really need to look at today.
The other side of the coin.
Yeah. You compare that quiet, explosive, multi-generational growth to the reality for so many incredibly hardworking people.
People putting in brutal hours.
Exactly. We were talking about folks who are pulling double shifts or working overseas away from their families for years at a time.
Pouring their absolute blood, sweat, and tears into earning a living.
But despite all that intense, undeniable hard work, they are often just one single emergency away from having their entire life savings completely wiped out.
It's terrifying, really.
One unexpected medical bill, one roof leak during a typhoon, one crisis, and bam, the board is reset to zero.
And that is the tragic paradox we see every single day.
Because the income might actually be similar, right?
That's the crazy part. The income might actually be quite similar at the starting line. I mean, the overseas worker and the small shop owner might be bringing in the exact same amount of cash in month one.
But the trajectory of where that wealth ends up over 10 years?
Completely different universes.
Okay, let's unpack this,
Yeah.
because this is really the core of what we're looking at for this deep dive.
Why the massive gap?
Yeah, why does one group seem to build wealth so systematically, ensuring their grandkids will be set, while others struggle so deeply just to keep their heads above water?
Even when starting with the same income.
Exactly. Is it just blind luck? Is it some secret financial intelligence?
Well, the mission of our deep dive today is to answer exactly that question.
And we've got some great sources for this.
We do. We are pulling from an incredible stack of source material that outlines 10 quiet, anti-flashy, highly effective financial habits.
Rooted in Chinese family traditions, mostly.
Right, deeply rooted in those traditions. But the beauty of this framework is that it is applicable to absolutely anyone.
So we aren't talking about, like, complex derivative trading?
No, definitely not. No venture capital funding, no getting lucky in crypto. We are looking at the simple, daily mechanics that build unshakable generational wealth.
And to you, listening to this deep dive right now, as we navigate through these principles, I really want you to actively evaluate your own relationship with money.
Yeah, this isn't an attack.
Exactly. There are absolutely no guilt trips here, no judgment. We've all made the mistakes we're about to talk about.
Oh, 100%.
Just view this as a fresh perspective. Think of it as putting on a new pair of glasses to look at your daily habits.
I like that analogy.
So let's just jump straight into the deep end with the first major concept from our sources. And I'll warn you, this one challenges a lot of what we see online today.
Ah, trick 10.
Trick 10. The truly rich don't look rich.
This is such a profound starting point because it immediately challenges the visual language of success that society constantly feeds us.
Well, yeah, because we live in a world entirely consumed by what the source material calls flex culture.
Oh, it's everywhere.
It's unavoidable. You get your paycheck, and before the money even settles in the account, someone is posting a picture of a premium, oversized milk tea.
Or a new pair of shoes.
Right, you buy new sneakers, and within 3 seconds, it's on your Instagram stories.
Immediate broadcast.
Or, taking it to the extreme, people are buying the absolute latest smartphone on a massive installment plan.
Not because they actually need the computing power.
Exactly. They're just texting and scrolling. They buy it just to prove they live a certain lifestyle.
What's fascinating here is the psychological trap of prioritizing the image of wealth over actual structural financial stability.
Because an image is so much easier to fake.
It is, and the source points out a brilliant paradox to illustrate this. Picture that business owner we talked about earlier walking around the local wet market.
The one in the faded t-shirt.
Right. They are wearing completely simple, faded clothes, maybe just a pair of basic rubber slippers. They look entirely unremarkable.
If you pass them on the street, you wouldn't look twice.
Exactly. Yet that specific person secretly owns the entire commercial building you're standing in.
The landlord in flip-flops. We all know someone exactly like that.
We do. Now, contrast that unassuming landlord with someone walking down the same street and head-to-toe designer clothes.
Flashing the newest gadgets.
Right, making sure everyone sees the logos. But behind closed doors, that second person is losing sleep every single night.
Because they're drowning in mounting debts just to maintain that exact look.
Precisely. One has the illusion of wealth, the other holds the reality of it.
But let me push back a little here. Because isn't there some truth to, dressing for success?
It's a common argument, yeah.
Right. We're told constantly that you have to project a certain image to be taken seriously in business. Why is it inherently bad to want to look successful?
Well, there is a massive mechanical difference between investing in a tailored suit, because you are pitching a client in a corporate boardroom,
Okay, sure.
and financing a luxury car at 12% interest because you want your neighbors to think you're doing well.
I see what you mean.
One is a calculated business expense with an expected return on investment. The other is lifestyle inflation driven entirely by ego.
That is a very sharp distinction.
The danger is when we blur the lines between the two and use dressing for success as an excuse to bankrupt ourselves for social media validation.
That makes a lot of sense. Social media has essentially weaponized our desire for status.
It has. We're hardwired to want our tribe to know we're valuable.
But now our tribe is thousands of strangers online.
Exactly.
So we're willing to go into crushing debt just to prove a point to people who, let's be honest, probably aren't even paying that much attention to us anyway.
It boils down to a desperate need for immediate social validation because building real wealth takes time.
It takes incredible patience.
And quite frankly, it is incredibly boring and invisible.
Yeah, you can't really post a screenshot of your emergency fund growing by 4% over a year.
Right, and get the same dopamine hit of likes and comments as you would posting a picture holding a brand new luxury handbag.
It just doesn't hit the same.
Human beings are social creatures. We crave that immediate acknowledgement. But when we confuse the performance of wealth with the actual accumulation of wealth, we fall into a deeply dangerous cycle.
It's the ultimate irony, isn't it? In the desperate pursuit of looking like we have money, we actively prevent ourselves from actually keeping any of it.
It's a self-defeating prophecy.
Which naturally leads us to ask, what exactly triggers that need to spend? Because it's not just about showing off, is it?
No, not usually.
Often it's deeply internal. The sources dive heavily into the idea of emotional escapes.
Yes, and how our feelings are actively weaponized against our wallets.
Okay, let's look at trick 9 and trick 8 here, because this is where financial habits intersect directly with human psychology.
If you don't understand the psychological triggers, the math doesn't even matter.
Exactly. So the source brings up a phrase that I guarantee every single person listening has used at some point. I deserve this.
Oh, the classic trap.
Think about it. You have a brutal day at the office, the boss yells at you for something that wasn't your fault.
Or maybe you're dealing with a tough breakup.
Or honestly, maybe you're just incredibly bored on a rainy Tuesday night. What happens?
That negative emotion creates a void.
And that void leads directly to flash sales, endlessly scrolling through shopping apps, and participating in what we all jokingly call add-to-cart therapy.
It is a highly normalized modern coping mechanism.
Right. But the source outlines a phenomenal counter-strategy used by wealthy families to combat this exact impulse.
Trick 9, the 48-hour rule.
It sounds simple, but it's brutal in practice.
Yeah.
When you see something you want to buy that is not an absolute life-sustaining necessity, you do not buy it.
You pause.
You force yourself to wait exactly 2 days.
The underlying logic there is incredibly sound because it separates the stimulus from the response.
But wait, let me play devil's advocate here. What if it's a massive flash sale?
Ah, the artificial urgency.
You know the ones, only 2 hours left, 70% off. If I use the 48-hour rule, I literally lose the discount. Aren't I just being financially irresponsible by missing out on a deal and paying full price later?
That is exactly what the marketing algorithms want you to think.
So it's a trap.
Completely. You have to realize that the artificial scarcity, the ticking clock, the only 2 items left in stock warning, is engineered precisely to bypass your rational brain.
It's designed to trigger a panic response.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is if we connect this to the bigger picture, most of the time we aren't actually buying the physical item.
What are we buying then?
We are buying a temporary feeling of relief from whatever is stressing us out.
Oh, wow.
So the 48-hour rule acts as a necessary circuit breaker. Emotions are inherently temporary.
Right, that peak state of desire.
That burning, undeniable need to own that item right this second, it will naturally fade.
And the data actually backs that up. The source highlights a statistic that honestly blew my mind.
The 90% rule.
Yeah, 90% of the time, after those 48 hours have passed, you completely forget about the item. 90%.
It's staggering.
You don't even remember what you were so desperate to buy in the first place.
Which just proves the desire wasn't about the item at all. The source beautifully notes that true financial discipline isn't actually about having a massive, high-paying income.
It's about psychology.
Right. It is about having the psychological fortitude to control your emotions before you ever reach for your wallet.
Okay, let's unpack this with an analogy because I think this is crucial for you listening right now. Relying on emotional spending is basically like putting a tiny cartoon Band-Aid on a broken arm.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
You're stressed about your demanding job, so you buy an expensive watch you can't afford. For about 10 minutes, while you check out and look at the confirmation email, you get a rush.
A little hit of dopamine.
Right. You feel like you're doing something to soothe yourself. But the underlying stress, the broken arm, is still there.
Your job is still demanding.
Exactly. And now, worse, you have less money to actually deal with your life, adding financial stress on top of the work stress.
That is a perfect visualization. You're layering crises on top of each other. And when that Band-Aid approach becomes a permanent lifestyle, it inevitably leads us to the most dangerous consequence highlighted in the sources.
Trick 8, the accumulation of bad debt.
Yes, this is the dark side of that add-to-cart therapy.
The source material goes really deep into the modern swipe now, pay later culture.
It's so prevalent now.
It is. We are constantly bombarded with credit card offers, buy now, pay later installment plans at checkout, and even the devastating trap of online gambling.
It's frictionless spending.
Yeah, we convince ourselves that we are just borrowing a little bit of happiness from tomorrow to feel good today.
And that mindset is the exact polar opposite of how truly wealthy families view debt. The source draws a very stark, very important contrast here.
How do they see it?
Well, for the wealthy, debt is never, ever a tool for personal consumption. They do not use debt to buy a depreciating asset.
Like a phone.
Right. A smartphone loses 30% of its value the second you open the box. A designer bag is not an investment, despite what the marketing says.
So what do they use it for?
For the wealthy, debt is viewed purely as a strategic lever. It is used to expand a business, to buy commercial equipment that will immediately generate more income, or to acquire real estate that appreciates in value.
Okay, so mechanically, it's the difference between taking out a bank loan to buy a commercial pizza oven for your restaurant.
Yes, exactly.
Versus taking out a personal loan to buy yourself a luxury pizza every single night.
That's it entirely. The oven makes you money while you sleep. The nightly pizza just leaves you hungry the next day and deeper in the hole.
Wow. Good debt versus bad debt.
Precisely. The culture of bad debt creates a horrifying scenario where, before your paycheck even arrives in your bank account, it is already completely spoken for.
It's gone.
It's already gone, claimed by past impulsive decisions. You become structurally trapped in a cycle of paying for yesterday's temporary emotions with tomorrow's grueling labor.
Paying for yesterday's emotions with tomorrow's labor. That is a chilling way to frame it.
It's a vicious cycle.
But it's not just the big, obvious emotional purchases that bankrupt people, is it? Our sources reveal that the real, insidious damage often happens in the tiny, completely invisible moments of our day.
The stuff we don't even register as spending.
Yes. Which brings us to Section 3, the microeconomics of daily leaks. Tricks 7 and 6.
This is where we transition from understanding our psychology to looking at the pure, undeniable mathematics of daily habits.
The source introduces this powerful concept called the barya mentality.
Barya.
Barya meaning small change, coins, the loose money we usually ignore or leave at the bottom of our bags.
The loose change in the car cup holder.
Exactly. The text emphasizes the absolute necessity of respecting every single cent, and it uses this specific mathematical example that I think will resonate with a lot of people.
The milk tea example.
Let's take a daily premium milk tea that costs roughly 150 pesos.
Now, in the grand scheme of a monthly budget, 150 pesos seems entirely harmless.
It feels negligible. You tap your card, you don't even think about it.
Right.
But the source does the math for us. That 150 pesos a day is 4,500 pesos a month.
Which just starts to add up.
And over the course of a single year, that seemingly harmless, invisible daily habit is over 50,000 pesos.
What's fascinating here is the concept of exponential leakage. People constantly look at their bank accounts at the end of the year and are genuinely baffled.
Where does it all go?
They wonder exactly that. They assume they must have made some massive, catastrophic financial blunder that they forgot about.
Some huge mistake.
But more often than not, there was no single big mistake. They were simply bled dry by 1,000 tiny daily cuts.
50,000 pesos a year is real capital.
It absolutely is. That is the seed money for a small business. That is a robust, life-saving emergency fund.
Or a significant initial investment in a mutual fund.
Exactly. But instead, it is just gone, literally converted into temporary sugar rushes.
But wait, I have to ask the question that I know you listening are screaming at your phones right now.
Go for it.
Isn't it miserable to live like that? If I can't even buy a 150 peso milk tea without feeling guilty, what is the point of working so hard?
It's a very common pushback.
Aren't we allowed to have small joys?
It's a completely fair question, but it stems from a misunderstanding of the principle.
How so?
The Barya mentality is not about mandatory deprivation. It's about radical intentionality.
Radical intentionality.
Yes. The human brain naturally struggles to compute the long-term compounding effect of small numbers. We think only in the present moment.
Right.
The source material makes a critical point. Respecting small money is the absolute prerequisite for handling large money.
Because the habits scale.
Exactly. If you cannot manage the outflow of 150 pesos, you will inherently lack the structural discipline to manage 150,000 pesos. The financial mechanics are identical, only the scale changes.
So it's not that you can never have the milk tea.
No, not at all.
Right.
It's asking whether you are consciously choosing to spend 50,000 pesos a year on it, or if it's just a mindless leak.
I love that distinction. Every peso you spend is a vote for your future. If you're consciously voting for the milk tea, fine.
Own that choice.
But most of us are just leaking votes. And that idea of intentionality leads directly into the next principle, trick 6.
Paying the future first.
This completely upends how most of us think about our monthly budgets. I'm going to break down the flawed standard formula that most people use, and honestly, the one I used for years.
Most of us did.
It goes exactly like this. You get your income. Then you immediately subtract your fixed bills, rent, electricity.
Right.
Then you subtract your food. Then you subtract whatever luxury or entertainment you want for the month. And then finally, whatever tiny microscopic amount is left over.
If anything.
Yeah, if anything, that equals your savings.
And as the source correctly points out, mathematically and psychologically, that final number almost always equals 0.
Always 0. Because there is always another bill, always another craving, always another unexpected invite to dinner.
Always something.
But the wealth building formula, the one used by these successfully disciplined families, flips the entire equation entirely on its head.
It's a profound shift.
The formula is income minus savings equals expenses.
This raises a profoundly uncomfortable question about how we prioritize our own lives.
Oh, absolutely.
When you use the standard formula, you are paying the electric company first, you are paying the grocery store second, you are paying the streaming service third,
And you are paying yourself last.
your own future self last. Or, more likely, not at all.
You are putting yourself at the absolute bottom of the priority list behind Netflix.
Exactly. But when you adopt the income minus savings equals expenses model, you are fundamentally declaring that your future is the single most important bill you have to pay.
That is powerful.
The mechanics are crucial here. You take the savings out the exact second the money hits your account.
Before you even see it.
Yes. It goes into an investment, a separate account somewhere with high friction where you cannot easily touch it.
But practically, how do you do that? Let's say my income is just barely covering my rent and food. If I take savings out first, I won't have enough for rent.
And here is the brutal but absolutely necessary mindset shift the source demands.
Okay, lay on me.
If, after you have taken out your savings and paid your essential survival bills, there is no money left for luxury, then you simply do not get the luxury.
Oh, man.
You adapt your lifestyle to whatever is left over, not the other way around.
That is tough.
It is. If the math doesn't work, it forces a crisis. It forces you to either drastically cut expenses or aggressively increase your income.
And it courses action.
Yes. The old formula allows you to hide from that crisis by just sacrificing your future. This formula forces you to face reality today.
That is tough love, but it makes so much sense. You pay your future self first, and you deal with the consequences in the present.
Precisely.
I want you, the listener, to pause for a second and think about your own daily routine. What is your version of that 150 peso milk tea?
Everyone has one.
What is that small, invisible leak in your daily life? Maybe it's a subscription app you haven't opened in 6 months, or paying for delivery convenience every single day instead of doing meal prep.
Just bleeding cash.
Find that leak, because plugging it is the first step to flipping that equation.
It requires a high degree of daily, active intentionality. It is not passive.
Definitely not. And once we've mastered that internal landscape, right? Once we plug the daily leaks and flipped our savings equation to prioritize ourselves, we have to look outward.
Because money doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Exactly. We have to look at how we interact with the economy and, critically, the people around us. This brings us to a fascinating part of the source material, Section 4.
Social capital, pride, and the power of Guangxi.
Let's talk about Trick 5 first, the haggle hustle, the art of negotiation.
This touches on some incredibly deep cultural anxieties we have around money and social status.
Big time. Now, in many circles, particularly in modern retail environments, there's this massive, unspoken stigma around haggling.
People are genuinely embarrassed to ask for a discount.
They are. They feel like if they try to negotiate the price of a service or an item, they will look poor or stingy or like they don't belong in that establishment.
It ties directly back to what we discussed at the very beginning, the desire to look rich.
Right. We'd rather overpay than risk someone thinking we need the discount.
It's all about ego protection.
But wait, let me push back on this a bit. If I'm at a local market, buying from a small independent vendor, isn't haggling just hurting their bottom line?
It's a valid concern.
There's a fine line between being financially savvy and just being cheap and exploiting someone's need to make a sale, right?
Yeah.
How do wealthy families navigate that ethical line?
That's a crucial distinction. The source isn't advocating for grinding a small street vendor into poverty over 10 pesos.
Okay, good.
It's talking about the broader philosophical approach to transactions. What's fascinating here is the complete separation of ego from economics.
Separation of ego from economics. I like that.
The wealthy understand that in business-to-business transactions, real estate, vehicle purchases, or bulk supplier contracts, a price is merely a starting point for a conversation.
Just a suggestion, basically.
Right. They do not view haggling as an admission of poverty. They view it as a necessary exercise in capital efficiency.
Why give up more than you have to?
Exactly. Why would you voluntarily hand over more capital than is strictly necessary to close the deal? Billionaires aggressively negotiate with their suppliers not because they lack the money,
But because keeping that money is how they remain billionaires.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Is it a sign of misplaced pride that we would rather be broke just to look generous than to negotiate and actually keep our own money?
It often is.
Think about it. We are so terrified of being judged by a salesperson we will literally never see again in our entire lives
A total stranger.
that we willingly give up our hard-earned cash. Every single peso you save through a successful, fair negotiation is a peso you just earned, tax-free, in a matter of seconds.
It is entirely misplaced pride. When you shift your mindset to realize that saving money is mathematically identical to making money, the social embarrassment completely vanishes.
You're just doing your job.
You are fulfilling your primary duty, which is protecting your resources.
And speaking of protecting resources, that flows perfectly into the next principle, trick 4,
Ah, Guangxi.
which might be the most powerful external factor of all. The concept of Guanxi, the power of your circle, your network, your tribe.
Your environment.
The source draws a fascinating and honestly pretty stark contrast between two very different types of social circles.
Let's hear it.
Imagine Circle A. Every single time they get together, the conversation revolves around gossip, drinking, complaining about the boss, and talking about how rigged and unfair the world is.
It is a circle rooted entirely in stagnation and victimhood.
Now imagine Circle B. This group gets together, maybe over a cheap cup of coffee, and they talk about business ideas.
They share strategies for saving.
Right. They discuss real estate investments, market trends, and personal growth.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we hit upon a fundamental, unyielding truth of human behavioral psychology. Environment is almost always stronger than motivation.
Always.
You can read all the financial books in the library, you can listen to this deep dive twice a day, you can have the absolute best intentions in the world. But if you walk out your door and immerse yourself in a peer group that actively normalizes bad financial habits and ridicules ambition, your willpower will eventually, inevitably erode.
It's like trying to swim upstream against a raging Category 5 river.
Perfect analogy.
You might make progress for a minute, but eventually you're going to get tired and get swept away.
Exactly. We are naturally biologically influenced by the norms of our tribe. If you are surrounded by people who are lazy or financially reckless or who think buying liabilities on credit is normal,
That stagnation simply becomes your baseline normal.
right, you do not feel the need to push yourself because absolutely no one around you is pushing themselves. You feel safe in the mediocrity.
But the flip side is also true, and this is the hopeful part.
The power of a good circle.
The source points out that if you manage to surround yourself with driven, ambitious, financially disciplined people, a magical thing happens.
You elevate.
You become too embarrassed to stay stagnant. You feel this positive upward peer pressure to elevate your own game, to start reading, to start investing, just so you can meaningfully contribute to the conversation.
You level up by association.
But honestly, how do you actually do that? It's really painful to outgrow childhood friends if they're in Circle A.
It is deeply painful, and it requires immense emotional maturity. It is the concept of psychological osmosis.
Psychological osmosis.
Yes, you absorb the mindset, the financial habits, and literally the vocabulary of the people you spend the most time with.
You absorb their norms.
The source is essentially telling us that to build wealth, we have to ruthlessly curate our environment. It doesn't necessarily mean cutting off old friends entirely.
Right, you don't have to be cruel.
But it means actively shifting the vast majority of your time and energy toward people who represent the future you want to build rather than the past you are trying to escape.
It's that old saying, show me your friends and I will show you your future.
It's incredibly confronting, but necessary.
Now, we are entering the final stretch of the source material. Section 5.
The ultimate shift.
This is where we pull everything together.
Yeah.
The internal psychology, the daily mechanics, the social environment, into a cohesive, overarching philosophy of wealth.
This section represents the critical transition from merely saving money to actually constructing lasting structural wealth.
We are talking about time, generations, and the absolute most powerful metaphor in the entire text. Let's look at the final 3 principles.
Starting with trick 3, generational thinking.
The source brings up this concept and contrasts it with what it calls the one-day millionaire mindset.
Oh, we see this all the time.
This is something so many of us do, especially around the holidays. You get that 13th month bonus or a big commission check, and instantly the mindset is, let's book a trip. Let's buy the new gadgets.
Let's treat the entire extended family to a massive dinner.
Right. And the money is completely gone in a flash of celebration.
It is the ultimate expression of short-term, immediate gratification thinking. The financial horizon extends only to the following weekend.
But the source contrasts this with the profound generational thinking seen in successful family empires.
They operate on a totally different timeline.
They aren't just building a business so they can buy a sports car for themselves today.
No.
They're building a business and accumulating hard assets so that life is fundamentally easier for their unborn grandchildren.
Unborn grandchildren.
They are planning decades, sometimes centuries, into the future.
This raises a vital question about the actual purpose of wealth. When your time horizon is only a few weeks, your financial decisions will naturally lean entirely toward consumption.
Because you just want to enjoy it now?
Right. But when your time horizon spans multiple generations, your decisions lean heavily toward creation and preservation.
passing the baton.
Exactly. You start thinking about passing down not just liquid money, which can be easily squandered, but passing down robust systems, intense discipline, and income-producing assets that can sustain a family line long after you are gone.
It changes the entire game. You aren't playing for the weekend, you're playing for history.
Beautifully said.
And part of building that sustainable system involves the next crucial habit, trick 2, multiple streams of income.
Never, ever rely on just one.
The source gives a terrifying warning that we touched on right at the beginning. If you only have one single source of income, say a salary from an employer, you only have to lose one thing for your entire life to completely fall apart.
In systems engineering, that is called a single point of failure.
A single point of failure.
Yes, and it is considered a catastrophic design flaw. If one valve breaks, the whole engine explodes. Yet financially, the vast majority of the global population operates with exactly this catastrophic flaw.
We are walking tightropes without a net.
Exactly.
But let's be real here. If I'm working 50 hours a week just to survive, how on earth am I supposed to build a second or third stream of income? I don't have the time or energy to get a second job.
And that is exactly why the wealthy do not rely solely on trading their labor for income.
So what's the alternative?
The goal isn't necessarily to get a second job where you work another 20 hours. The goal is robust security through assets.
Assets.
Right. They have their main business or career, sure, but they also deploy capital. They own rental properties that generate cash. They have investments in dividend-paying stocks.
They own intellectual property.
Exactly. If one stream dries up, say the main business has a bad year, the river still flows from the other tributaries.
The other streams keep you afloat?
It provides a level of deep psychological peace that a single high-paying salary simply cannot offer, because that single salary can vanish tomorrow with one corporate layoff.
Which finally brings us to trick 1, the grand finale of our source material.
The overarching mindset that makes all of this possible.
And I have to say, this completely changed how I physically look at my wallet. The most crucial mindset shift of all, viewing every single peso as an employee.
This is, without a doubt, the most potent and transformative analogy in the entire text.
Listen to this concept because it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Imagine every peso bill you hold in your hand is a tiny, living worker.
A little employee.
If you take that peso and you buy some useless plastic junk that you will inevitably throw away in a week, you've essentially fired your employee.
You've let them go.
You have permanently killed their potential to ever do anything else for you.
Their labor is exhausted immediately upon purchase. They are gone forever.
But if you invest that peso, if you put it into an asset, a piece of real estate or an index fund, that employee goes to work for you.
And they work hard.
The source says they work 24/7, they don't sleep, they don't take vacations, they don't ask for sick leave.
They are working while you are on the beach.
And best of all, they give birth to more employees.
That is compounding interest, perfectly visualized.
It really is.
What's fascinating here is how this single metaphor synthesizes all the seemingly disparate points we have discussed into the ultimate definition of financial freedom.
Because the goal isn't just to be rich.
Right. The goal of wealth, according to these deeply held traditions, is not to have towering piles of cash just so you can buy luxury cars and designer clothes to impress strangers.
No, because that is the trap from the very beginning.
Yeah.
The flex culture.
Exactly. The true goal is having time. It is having unshakable peace of mind. It is having absolute sovereign control over your own life and your own schedule.
That's the real wealth.
And you achieve that by hiring a massive, tireless army of these money employees. When your money employees generate enough new employees to completely cover all your basic living expenses, you are free.
You are financially independent.
You no longer have to trade your own limited, precious time for capital. You can work because you want to, not because you're forced to.
I am still marveling at that analogy.
Yeah.
Firing versus hiring your money.
Yeah.
It completely changes the physical feeling of handing over cash for something trivial.
It adds so much weight to the transaction.
It does. The next time you go to buy that 150 peso daily milk tea, you aren't just spending money. You are looking at 150 little workers, looking them in the eye and saying, you are all fired.
It makes you pause.
It creates that necessary friction. It makes you deploy the 48-hour rule without even thinking about it.
It injects extreme friction into the act of wasteful spending and extreme joy into the act of investing, because you know you are expanding your workforce.
It really does. So let's zoom out and summarize the incredible journey we've taken through our sources today.
It's been a lot of ground covered.
Building generational wealth is not about waiting around for an overnight windfall. It is not about hitting the lottery or finding some magical secret shortcut.
There are absolutely no shortcuts. The math doesn't allow for it.
It is entirely about a series of quiet, disciplined, and highly intentional habits that you execute and repeat day after day, year after year.
It's the boring work that gets results.
It's about rejecting the toxic illusion of flex culture. It's about recognizing and managing your emotional triggers before you shop.
Using the 48-hour rule.
Right. It's about respecting the tiny amounts of money just as much as the big amounts. It's about having the courage to flip your budget and pay your future self before anyone else.
And managing your environment.
Curating a network of driven people who elevate you.
Yeah.
And finally, it's about deploying your money as an army of tireless employees working across multiple streams to buy back your freedom.
It is a complete structural architectural blueprint for lifelong financial independence.
So, to you listening right now, I have a specific challenge for you. Out of all the habits we discussed today, whether it's instituting the 48-hour rule for your online shopping carts, adopting the Barria mentality and tracking those tiny daily leaks, or taking the plunge and flipping your savings equation to prioritize your future, which one are you going to implement today?
Don't try to do all of them at once.
No, you'll burn out. Pick just one and start right now.
And as you decide where to begin, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought, building on what we learned from the sources about generational impact.
Let's hear it.
We talked a lot about passing down businesses and hard financial assets to the next generation. But consider this invisible inheritance. If you could literally pass down your current everyday spending habits to your children as a mandatory inheritance, exactly as those habits are right now, would you be setting them up for a lifetime of unshakable freedom or a lifetime of relentless stress?
Wow. If my kids had to spend exactly the way I do, that is a heavy, heavy question to ponder. Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden mechanics of wealth. Take a look at those habits, hire your employees, and we will see you next time.